I want to confess my feelings to my married manager. I had been secretly in love with my married manager for almost 2 years when I finally decided to confess everything. I wrote down exactly what I wanted to say. I waited until Friday because I knew we'd be working late together. And that morning, I promised myself that before I went home, I was finally going to tell Adam the truth. I never got the chance. 3:17 that afternoon, my phone rang. I didn't recognize the number. When I answered, a woman said, "Hi, Jenna. This is Melissa, Adam's wife." My entire body went cold. We had never spoken before. Then she said something that made me realize my feelings hadn't been nearly as secret as I thought. "I know you're in love with my husband." I couldn't speak. But what she said next was even worse. "And Jenna, he already told me how he feels about you." That was the moment I realized this wasn't just a crush anymore. Whatever had been happening between Adam and me had already followed him home. And I was about to find out that his wife knew far more about our relationship than I did. But to understand how I ended up getting that phone call, I have to go back almost 3 years. Because when I first met Adam, I wasn't attracted to him at all. In fact, I was a little scared of him. Adam was 37 when I started working for him. I was 28. He had been married to Melissa for 11 years, and they had 2 children. I knew all of this from the beginning. There was never a moment when I thought he was single. He wore his wedding ring. He talked about Melissa. There were pictures of his children in his office. During my first year working for him, I didn't think about him romantically at all. At least, not yet. Adam wasn't mean, but he was serious. He expected people to do their jobs properly. If you made a mistake, he didn't yell. He just looked at you and asked, "What happened?" Somehow that was worse. But he was also the first manager I ever had who genuinely supported me. My previous boss had taken credit for my work and blamed me whenever something went wrong. Adam was the opposite. When I did something well, he made sure senior management knew. When I made a mistake, he helped me fix it instead of humiliating me. 6 months after I started, he recommended me for a promotion. I got it. That's when we started working together more closely. And somewhere along the way, my feelings changed. There wasn't one dramatic moment. It was hundreds of small ones. Adam remembering how I took my coffee. Adam noticing when I was overwhelmed. Adam staying late to help me finish a presentation even though his part was already done. Adam sending me a message after a difficult meeting saying, "You handled that better than you think." None of those things were romantic. I understand that now. The time they felt personal. The first moment I realized I was in trouble happened during a company conference in Chicago. Our team had traveled there for 3 days. After dinner, several coworkers went to a bar. Adam came with us. People drank. We talked about things that had nothing to do with work. Eventually, someone asked Adam how he met his wife. He smiled. Not the polite smile he used with clients. A real one. He told us he met Melissa when they were 22. On their first date, he spilled an entire glass of red wine on her white dress. Melissa went to the bathroom, washed the stain as best she could, came back wearing Adam's jacket over the dress, and finished the date. Everyone laughed. I laughed too. But something inside me hurt. Jealousy. I was jealous of his wife. That terrified me. I went back to my hotel room early. I stood in front of the bathroom mirror and told myself, "Stop. He's married. He's your boss. This goes nowhere." For a while that worked. I started dating again. I met a guy named Tyler. He was kind. Funny. Interested in me. We dated for 4 months. But I compared him to Adam constantly. Tyler forgot things I told him. Adam remembered. Tyler interrupted people. Adam listened. Tyler complained constantly about his job. Adam rarely brought his problems into every conversation. One evening, Tyler looked at me across a restaurant table and said something that embarrassed me. "Sometimes when we're together, I feel like you're waiting for someone else." I denied it. He didn't believe me. Neither did I. We broke up a week later. I cried afterward. But not because I missed Tyler. I cried because I knew who I had been waiting for. A man I could never have. A man I could never have. Or at least, that's what I believed then. A few months later, Adam and I were working late. Everyone else had gone home. Around 9, he ordered pizza for both of us. We sat in the conference room eating while reviewing spreadsheets. Then his phone rang. "Melissa." He answered immediately. His entire voice changed. Softer. Warmer. He asked whether the kids were asleep. Then he laughed about something she said. I stared at my laptop and felt ridiculous. 3 hung up, he looked at me. You okay? Fine. You look upset. Just tired. He watched me for a second. Then he closed his laptop. Go home. We aren't finished. We'll finish tomorrow. I can stay. You're arguing with me about whether you're tired. That's usually how I know you're tired. I laughed despite myself. He smiled. And for one stupid second, that smile erased the phone call with his wife. That night was when I made another mistake. I looked Melissa up online. Her account was public. I told myself I was simply curious. Really, I wanted to know what she had that I didn't. I expected someone intimidating. Instead, Melissa seemed completely normal. She posted pictures of her garden, her children, books she was reading, terrible cakes she tried to bake. There were photographs of Adam asleep on the couch, Adam carrying their daughter, Adam wearing a ridiculous Christmas sweater, Adam kissing Melissa on their anniversary. I wanted to find evidence they were unhappy. Instead, I found a marriage. I closed the app. 10 minutes later, I opened it again. Eventually, checking Melissa's page became a habit. I knew when they went on vacation. I knew when their daughter started soccer. I knew when Melissa's mother had surgery. And slowly, I started doing something I'm ashamed to admit. I turned normal things into evidence. If Melissa posted without Adam, maybe they'd fought. If Adam came to work quiet, maybe something was wrong at home. If he stayed late, maybe he didn't want to go home. I built an imaginary version of their marriage from tiny pieces of information that had nothing to do with me. Then one Monday morning, Adam walked into the office without his wedding ring. I noticed immediately. My heart actually jumped. I spent the entire morning trying not to stare at his hand. Finally, during lunch, I couldn't resist. Lose something? He looked confused. Pointed toward his hand. He glanced down. Oh. My ring. He laughed. Getting resized. That was it. Getting resized. 2 words. That night, I sat in my car and cried. I knew something was wrong with me. I knew I needed distance. I considered requesting a transfer. I even opened the internal job board. Then Adam messaged me. Great work today. Couldn't have gotten that presentation through without you. I stared at the message and closed the job board. That decision mattered more than I realized. Because a few months later, Adam's marriage actually started having problems. First, I knew nothing. He simply seemed distracted. He stayed late more often. He stopped talking about Melissa. Then one afternoon, I found him sitting alone in the break room staring at his phone. I asked if he was okay. He sighed. Marriage is hard sometimes. 5 harmless words. They became oxygen to me. I should have hoped they worked things out. Instead, a small part of me thought, maybe this is why I feel this way. Maybe I'm supposed to wait. Adam began talking to me more. He told me Melissa was frustrated with his work hours. They argued about money, parenting, how much time he spent at the office. He felt like nothing he did was enough. First, I tried to redirect him. I'm sure you'll figure it out. You should talk to Melissa. Maybe you two need a weekend away. But I also loved that he trusted me. Eventually, I stopped redirecting. I listened. I comforted him. I told him he was a good husband, a good father, a good person. Every conversation pulled me closer. Then came the night I convinced myself he felt the same way. We had worked late again. Outside it was pouring rain. My car was several blocks away. Adam offered to drive me. When we reached my car, neither of us moved immediately. Rain hammered against the windshield. He looked exhausted. Are you going home? I asked. Eventually. Then he said, Melissa and I talked about separating. My heart started pounding so hard I was afraid he could hear it. I'm sorry. Maybe she's right. About what? Maybe I'm just not good at being married. I wanted to tell him she was wrong. I wanted to tell him that anyone would be lucky to have him. Instead, I said, You're a good person, Adam. He looked at me, and neither of us spoke. It was probably 3 seconds, maybe 4. But there was something in the way he looked at me that I had never seen before. Then his eyes dropped briefly toward my mouth. I noticed. He noticed that I noticed. And suddenly the inside of that car felt very small. Adam looked away first. Good night, Jenna. I got out. Nothing happened. No kiss. No touch. No confession. But I replayed those few seconds for months. That was when I stopped wondering whether he had feelings for me. I became convinced he did. And eventually, I decided I needed to tell him how I felt. Not because I wanted an affair. That's what I told myself. I wanted honesty. Closure. I wanted to say it once and finally move forward. But my friend Rachel saw through me immediately. "You don't want closure," she said. "Yes, I do." "No. You want him to tell you he feels the same." "I wouldn't ask him to leave Melissa." "You don't have to." "What does that mean?" "If he tells you he loves you, what happens next?" I didn't answer. Rachel continued. "Do you shake hands and go back to spreadsheets Monday morning?" I became angry. "You don't understand our relationship." She looked at me for a long time. Then she said, "That's exactly what worries me." I stopped talking to Rachel about Adam. But I didn't stop thinking about confessing. I wrote everything down. 3 pages. I wrote that I respected his marriage. That I didn't expect anything. That I just needed him to know. Then I deleted it. Wrote another version. Deleted that too. Finally, I decided I would tell him in person. Friday. We were both scheduled to stay late preparing for a Monday meeting. That morning, I woke up knowing today was the day. I was terrified. I was excited. And at 3:17 that afternoon, my phone rang. "Hi, Jenna. This is Melissa, Adam's wife." My entire body went cold. "I know you're in love with my husband." I couldn't speak. Then she said, "And Jenna, he already told me how he feels about you." I walked outside. My hands were shaking. "What did he tell you?" Melissa was quiet. Then she said, "He told me he has feelings for you too." There it was. The sentence I had dreamed about hearing for almost 2 years. And it felt nothing like I imagined. For one terrible second, I felt happy. Then I remembered who had just said it. His wife. "Melissa, I'm sorry. Please let me finish." I stayed quiet. "He told me everything." What does everything mean? The late nights. Conversations about our marriage. Driving you to your car. The messages. Nothing happened. I know. I've never kissed him. I know. I never asked him to leave you. I know that too. I didn't understand. Then why are you calling me? Because Adam finally realized that nothing physical happening doesn't mean nothing happened. That sentence stayed with me. Melissa told me their daughter had noticed Adam texting me. One evening, she asked, "Why do you talk to Jenna more than Mommy?" Adam laughed it off at first. Melissa didn't. She asked to see our messages. He showed her. There was nothing sexual. No declarations of love. But there were hundreds of messages. Work questions that became jokes. Jokes that became personal conversations. Messages late at night. Messages on weekends. Messages about problems in his marriage. Melissa asked him a simple question. "If Jenna disappeared from your life tomorrow, would you grieve her?" Adam couldn't answer. That was his answer. They fought. Then, for the first time, Adam admitted he had feelings for me. Melissa asked if we had slept together. No. Kissed? No. Touched? No. Had he imagined it? Adam said yes. I closed my eyes when Melissa told me that. Then she said something I didn't expect. "I don't think you're a bad person, Jenna." I started crying. "I didn't mean for this to happen. I believe you. I would never sleep with a married man. I believe that too. Then why do I feel like I already did something horrible?" Melissa was quiet. Then she said, "Because somewhere along the way you started hoping my marriage would fail." I couldn't deny it. She was right. I had turned every bad day Adam had into hope. Every argument into possibility. Every missing wedding ring into a fantasy. I apologized. Not the kind of apology where you immediately explain why you're actually innocent. I simply apologized. Melissa told me Adam had requested my transfer to another department. My stomach dropped. What? He spoke to his director yesterday. Why? Because he thinks the relationship between you has become inappropriate. He requested my transfer? Yes. I felt betrayed. Which was absurd. Adam was trying to protect his marriage. And somehow I felt like he had chosen Melissa over me. Then I realized how deeply I had already inserted myself into a competition that only existed in my head. Melissa asked me to respect the distance. I agreed. The following morning, Adam asked me into his office. For the first time in 3 years, sitting across from him felt uncomfortable. I assume Melissa called you. She did. He nodded. I'm sorry. Did you really request my transfer? Yes. Without talking to me? I didn't know how to talk to you without making everything worse. Do you have feelings for me? Closed his eyes. Jenna. I already know. Melissa told me. He looked embarrassed. I repeated the question. Do you? Yes. One word. I had waited almost 2 years for it. My heart broke when I finally heard it. He said he didn't know exactly when his feelings changed. He looked forward to seeing me. He thought about me at home. He sometimes stayed later than necessary because he knew I would be there. The night in the car? He had wanted to kiss me. He didn't. But he wanted to. I asked. If I had kissed you first, would you have stopped me? He didn't answer. I looked away. That was enough. Then Adam said something I wasn't prepared for. I've been unfair to both of you. To Melissa? And to you. He explained that during the worst period of his marriage, I became an escape. I saw him as competent, patient, supportive. Oh, Melissa saw everything. The stress, the irritability, the nights he came home late, promises he forgot. With me, he got to be the version of himself he liked. With Melissa, he had to be the whole person. I liked how you looked at me, he said. That hurt. 'Cause I understood. You made me feel like I was better than I actually was. So none of it was real? I didn't say that. Then what was it? He thought for a moment. Real feelings in a situation where we shouldn't trust them. I started crying. He did too. Adam told me he and Melissa had decided to stay together. They had started marriage counseling. He was reducing his work hours. He would no longer discuss his marriage with coworkers. And I was being moved to another team. So that's it. It has to be. Then I asked the question I wish I hadn't. Do you love me? Adam looked at me for a long time. I don't know. Somehow that hurt more than no. I know I care about you, he continued. But I also know I've mostly known you here. He gestured around the office. You've seen the version of me who is prepared. The version who has answers. The version who wears a clean shirt and knows what meeting is next. He looked at his wedding ring. Melissa knows the version who gets sick, loses his temper, forgets things, snores, gets scared, and disappoints people. Then he said, she knows the whole person. That was when something finally clicked. I didn't know the whole Adam either. I knew manager Adam. Supportive Adam. Patient Adam. The man who remembered my coffee. The man who praised my work. The man who always seemed to know what to say. I had taken those pieces and constructed the rest. Just like I had taken Melissa's social media posts and Adam's complaints and constructed an imaginary marriage. I wasn't only in love with Adam. I was in love with my version of him. Transfer happened 2 weeks later. I moved to another floor under a manager named Priya. I hated it initially. Every morning around 9, I expected Adam to walk past my desk. Every time my phone buzzed, part of me hoped it was him. Felt like a breakup. Except there had never been a relationship to break. That was one of the hardest things to explain. I was grieving something that had never existed. I started therapy. My therapist asked why Adam's approval mattered so much to me. I gave her a dozen reasons. He was intelligent, kind, supportive. She kept asking, why did being seen by him matter so much? Eventually, I understood. Adam had first entered my life as someone with authority over me. His praise affected my career. His approval made me feel competent. Then that professional validation became personal. I confused feeling valued with feeling loved. And when my personal life became lonely, I allowed that feeling to grow. Adam had done something similar. His marriage made him feel criticized. At work, I admired him. We gave each other exactly what the other person was missing. That didn't make the connection fake. It made it dangerous. 6 months after the transfer, I saw Melissa at a grocery store. I considered turning around. She saw me first. Jenna. I stopped. She walked over. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Finally, I asked, how are you? Good. And Adam? She smiled slightly. Better. I nodded. I'm glad. And to my surprise, I meant it. Melissa studied my face. Then she said, "Thank you." "For what?" "For staying away." I felt embarrassed. "You don't need to thank me for respecting your marriage." "Maybe not." She smiled. "But I wanted to." Before leaving, she told me something. "Adam doesn't blame you." "I know. I don't blame you either." I looked at her. She continued, "I blamed you at first. It was easier." "What changed?" "I realized Adam was the one who made vows to me." I didn't know what to say. "But," she added, "that doesn't mean you had no responsibility." "I know." She nodded. Then she walked away. That conversation helped me more than she probably realized. Almost a year after my transfer, Adam announced he was leaving the company. He had accepted another position with less travel and fewer hours. On his last day, he came to my floor. "Coffee?" I hesitated, then agreed. We went downstairs. It was the first time we'd been alone together in almost a year. The strange thing was, he looked different. Not physically. Smaller somehow. More human. I realized I wasn't nervous. Adam told me Melissa was pregnant. Their third child. For half a second, something old moved inside me. Then it disappeared. "Congratulations." "Thank you." He smiled. "We're terrified." I laughed. "I'm sure you'll figure it out." Then he asked whether I was seeing anyone. I raised an eyebrow. "That's probably not something we should discuss." He laughed. "Fair." Before we left, I asked the question that had lived in the back of my mind for a year. "If you had been single when we met, do you think something would have happened between us?" Adam thought about it. "Maybe. Once that answer would have kept me awake for weeks." Now I smiled. "Maybe is probably where it should stay." He nodded. "Probably." We hugged once. Nothing romantic. Nothing lingering. Just goodbye. Then he walked away. I haven't spoken to him since. I eventually started dating someone named Chris. The first few months felt strange because Chris wasn't Adam. He didn't always know what to say. He forgot my coffee order twice. He hates spreadsheets. Once he tried to fix my kitchen faucet and somehow made the leak worse. But he is available. Emotionally and otherwise. I don't have to interpret his wedding ring. I don't have to wonder what an argument with his wife means for me. I don't have to build a relationship from stolen moments. When something bothers me, I can ask him. When I feel insecure, we talk about it. It is less dramatic than what I felt with Adam. And much more real. I used to think my feelings for Adam were proof that we belonged together. Now I think the impossibility was part of what made them feel so powerful. There was no ordinary relationship to test the fantasy. No bills. No chores. No bad mornings. No disagreements about whose family we were visiting for Christmas. Just conversations, longing, and possibility. Fantasy gets to remain perfect because reality never gets the opportunity to disappoint it. I had planned to confess my feelings to my married manager on a Friday night. I had 3 pages prepared. I thought telling him would finally give me closure. Instead, his wife called me first. She told me she knew I loved her husband. Then she told me the part one had secretly wanted to hear for almost 2 years. He had feelings for me too. For a few seconds, I thought that meant I had been right all along. Maybe we were supposed to be together. Maybe his marriage was ending for a reason. Maybe this was finally my chance. But hearing the truth from his wife forced me to see something I had avoided for months. There was no romantic destiny happening. There were 3 people with feelings. 2 of them had allowed boundaries to disappear. And one of them was being hurt without ever agreeing to participate. I never gave Adam the confession I wrote. I deleted it. And I'm grateful I did. Because I don't believe anymore that every feeling needs to be confessed. Sometimes a feeling is something you acknowledge privately and then choose not to feed. Sometimes closure isn't hearing someone say they love you. Sometimes closure is realizing that even if they do, that doesn't mean you should be together. Adam and I had real feelings for each other. I can admit that now without romanticizing them. But real does not always mean right. And sometimes the most important love story in your life isn't the one where you finally get the person you've been waiting for. Sometimes it's the one where you finally learn when to walk away.